Remember that one song that made you believe in love, that heartfelt ballad that somehow spoke to your soul, even though you were too young to know exactly what love was. You've probably sung it more than once, maybe even danced to it in the living room. You're talking about Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You, that smooth, soul-soothing track by Glenn Medeiros, who at 16 years old captivated millions. But have you ever stopped and wondered what happened to him? A few hits, a brief ride on the fame train, then poof, where did he go? How does a guy who seemed poised for superstardom vanish from the public eye? Well, let's dive into that story. A story about love, fame, and knowing when to walk away. Born on 24 June 1970 in the beautiful Hawaiian Islands, Glenn Medeiros wasn't raised in a world of luxury or excess. His family came from humble roots. His ancestors worked on sugar plantations, and his father, a tour bus driver, made sure the family had what they needed. But Glenn, even as a kid, had something special, a love for music, sparked by his mother's constant singing. And it wasn't just in the home. Glenn would sing for tourists on the streets, earning pocket change, but always dreaming bigger. His voice, pure, raw, and filled with emotion. He wasn't chasing fame, not yet anyway. He was just chasing passion. In 1986, Glenn entered a local talent contest in Hawaii. He performed Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You, a song originally by George Benson. Now, you may know George's version, but Glenn brought something different to it. His voice, that combination of sincerity and youthful innocence, resonated deeply. This wasn't just another cover, it was his version, and the world was ready for it. He won the contest and recorded an album with a small local label. But luck, or fate, had other plans. A Phoenix radio exec heard Glenn's voice, played it on air, and the result? History. The song spread like wildfire, becoming a global hit almost overnight. By 1987, Glenn's life was never going to be the same. Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You became a global sensation. It was everywhere, a heartfelt ballad that struck the right chord at the right time. The song climbed the Billboard charts, reaching number 12 and spending 4 weeks at the top of the UK singles chart. He was the face on the walls, the voice in the air raids, a name everyone knew. Fame has a way of turning the purest dreams into something more complicated. Glenn recorded 2 Spanish versions of his song to reach an even wider audience. And guess what? Those versions became hits too. The world couldn't get enough. He even collaborated with Elsa Lini in 1988, and the song topped the French charts for weeks. Glenn was on top of the world. Success was everything, but for someone like Glenn, who was just a teenager, it came with a weight. There were duets with legends, appearances on film soundtracks like Karate Kid, and international acclaim. But let's be real, fame in the music industry doesn't come free. It comes with temptations, pressures, and an unspeakable darkness that many aren't prepared for. For Glenn, it wasn't just about record deals and charts. Behind the scenes, things weren't as glamorous as they seemed. The music industry's darker side was hard to ignore. The drugs, the pressure to fit a mold, the constant manipulations. Glenn began to see it all. The stories he heard were unsettling. Sexual favors exchanged for help in the industry. Glenn wasn't blind to it, but he made a choice that many others before him couldn't make. By the early 90s, Glenn did the unthinkable. He didn't let the machine consume him. He didn't sell his soul like so many others had to. Instead of chasing fleeting success, he walked away. He walked away from the fame, from the record deals, from the glitzy music industry that promised the world but gave so little in return. Why? Because it wasn't just about the music. It was about his integrity, his self-respect, Glenn wasn't willing to compromise himself for more fame, more money, more hollow applause. He said no to the industry's sick games. He said no to the compromises, and instead, Glenn turned his focus into something far more fulfilling. After stepping away from the spotlight, Glenn returned to Hawaii, where he found peace and purpose. He married Tammy Armstrong, and together, they raised two beautiful children. But Glenn didn't just sit back and fade into obscurity. He redefined his life. Inspired by the teacher who had shaped his early years, Glenn pursued a career in education. He became a teacher, eventually rising to principal of one of Hawaii's oldest schools, St. Louis Catholic School. He wasn't done inspiring others. He was just inspiring in a different way. And even today, Glenn occasionally performs for tourists at a major hotel in Hawaii. The difference? Now it's on his own terms. Now it's about sharing his gift with others without the weight of the industry pushing him around. Glenn's story is a reminder that success isn't just about the spotlight. It's about knowing who you are and staying true to that. While the world would never stop playing Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You on repeat, the real lesson comes from what Glenn did when the cameras weren't rolling. He escaped the trap, stayed true to himself, and lived life on his own terms. In a world where so many get swallowed by the industry, Glenn Medeiros is a rare example of someone who walked away before it could break him. And that's true success. So here's to Glenn Medeiros, a man who left us with more than just a song. He left us with a story about honor, respect, and making the hard choices. What do you think of Glenn's journey? Would you have made the same choice? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time with another incredible story, only here on Echoed.